Hello and welcome. I'm Charlie Anarkan, Vice President of Manufacturing at Microsoft. I'm delighted to welcome you all to Hannover Messe 2021. 2 years since we last gathered, and a ton has changed. Who would have thought? And I must admit, I'm missing Hannover Messe. I miss the buzz, the energy, even the fatigue from all these very, very long days. But here we are, all digital this year. I remember like packing up for Hannover Messe, my suits, my ties, etc. None of that. Dress code has changed with everything else. Delighted to be back, though, joining the digital stage. One thing that does not change is that we are still shaping the future of manufacturing. And guess what? The COVID, the pandemic, this whole disruption has accelerated digitalization in the manufacturing and supply chains. And so the conversation is not at all less exciting. It is actually a lot more exciting nowadays. It's a lot more actionable. And this is what we intend to walk you through today. And today's journey and conversation is going to be on digital twins, digital threads at all levels. And I have an amazing panel, a group of friends and partners to actually help manufacturers innovate and scale through digital twins, from the foundational capabilities of bringing connectivity, visibility, and connectedness to your assets, from a design and engineering standpoint. As in asset twins, to visibility of your production assets in your shop floor, to be able to run simulations, to be able to actually layer all sorts of artificial intelligence on top of that, and hence all of that with deep reinforcement learning. Go all the way to autonomous, to running the business in that environment, getting predictions, running system level simulations, going from production facilities to your entire supply chain, not limited to your operations and assets and plans, but being able to see your suppliers, your shippers, your warehouses, just having an end-to-end view of the entire system and being on top of everything. The goal is to become more resilient and completely changing how and where work gets done, so that the next disruption, the next crisis, we are prepared, we are resilient, and we can deal with it. Now, we talk a lot about digital transformation here, and I want to stress two things that are now very, very top of mind for all of us, and I'm delighted to say that we can take care of both of these. One is it's all about the business value, it's all about the outcomes that we're driving. And coupled with that, it's the time to value. So manufacturing coming from 20, 30-year cycles, going into weekly cycles almost, very, very agile sprints, very quick value realization, going from one plant to another, one use case to another, one scenario to another, and then just value realization aggregates and happens to at like billions of dollars of level, whether it's quality, whether it's yield or throughput or inventory optimization, all sorts of savings and efficiencies, as well as perhaps more importantly innovation. So we are able to now reimagine the end-to-end value chain, from machines to lines to entire factories to the entire supply chain, all the way to a customer order. It's a journey, but we're prepared to partner with you all along with the Microsoft partner ecosystem. So today, we will explore a series of perspectives from our partners. I am very, very pleased to welcome Tracey Countryman from Accenture, Andy Pratt from the Marston Group, now part of Microsoft, John Sobel from Sight Machine, and last but certainly not least, Hong Mo Young from Blue Yonder. We are making it easier for manufacturers to innovate and scale with digital twins. I am welcoming all my guests today. I'm delighted.
Thank you.
Superb. Good to see you.
So, it's all my pleasure. So thank you for joining me today. I'd like to start with Andy. Andy Pratt, founder and CEO of the Marston Group, with whom we've been partnering for some time. And here we are, Andy. You're part of the Microsoft family. And I'm curious if you'd like to share what brought you to Microsoft, What's the vision? What are the problems that we'll be tackling together?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, it's a real privilege to be part of the team now. I mean, we've been working together for just so many years, really getting into the weeds of how do we attack this digital twin phenomenon in these complex environments. And so I think for me, seeing the vision behind cross-industry solutions and where that's going, and recognizing that our passion as a team was like, how do we pull together these pieces of a very complex problem, from advanced simulation scenarios, complex twin ontologies, connectivity on the edge and in the cloud. And I think from our team's passion, it's about bringing those together and accelerating people to value and to really solving problems. And there's a glass ceiling, even though running, a smaller company is a great honor and a privilege. Really being able to be part of the Microsoft system lets us help more people, lets us go after bigger visions. And I think in this environment, we got a big challenge. We need to transform to sustainability. We need new ways of working. We need to be more adaptive. And for us in the team, we can have a much better impact at empowering others, empowering, the Microsoft platform as a beating heart behind there. So we're just so thrilled to be part of the team and looking forward to working with everyone to kind of accelerate this journey.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. As we were working together, I was so excited to see how in Metro Weeks you could just take a brownfield environment and then bring connectivity to it, even including sensorizing that environment, and then being able to stream data, and then just be able to enable new levels of intelligence. And obviously, all of these conversations happened with Tracey Countryman, our partner in crime. And without Tracey and Accenture, we would not be where we are today. And Tracey, as far as this particular kind of three-way partnership and the journey that we've been on, from taking those brownfield environments as in plants and just giving digital twins of these plants to our beloved customers, actually, I must say that either the disruptors or the early adopters of this whole kind of digital manufacturing era. So what can you say about the value piece, the time to value piece, and how we operate as a three-way partnership?
Well, I guess first, congratulations to the Marsden team. I mean, this is super exciting for us at Accenture. We've been a long time Microsoft partner. And recently, in the last 6 months with Marsden and Microsoft, in a program where we're really jointly investing to drive the emergent tech and the adoption throughout the industry. But I think, the key here for us, particularly at Accenture, is it's not just technology looking for a business problem. It's the other way around. And so, when I think about what we've been able to do together, with Marsden's incredible innovation and speed and engineering problem solving and rapid kind of innovation little engine that they've had, Microsoft's ability to drive industrial IoT platform in the Azure digital twin, right, for our clients in manufacturing, and then Accenture coming in, being able to help shape what is that value proposition, what is the use case you can pick to scale. How would you do the connectivity? How does that tie to your data and your data architecture and the backend for large scale deployment and transformation? And then how do you drive that across what is tens or 20 refineries all the way through to hundreds or thousands of plants, right? Particularly when you look at discrete manufacturing. So I think there's a really special combination there around being able to enable the vision and the transformation enabled by digital twins, and the value that we've been able to get after. I just reflect to, 16 weeks ago when we started working with a major consumer goods company with this concept, right, that we could in 12 weeks connect a brownfield site, look at their packaging lines, help them look at their quality performance, right, and the cost of poor quality and waste, stand up with the help of Marsden, some sensor packs that we need more data flowing, do that in a secure way, tie that into the Azure cloud, complement that with Accenture's applied intelligence and AI capability, render it in a 3D capability that was their physical twin, and then demonstrate on a per second, per minute basis the waste so that the operators could actually go change, right, the drifting pattern around the control layer, was just phenomenal, right? And I think it's been a long-standing problem. We could apply the tech, but we also applied the change in the ways of working and worked really hardcore with the people on the shop floor to understand the art of the possible and co-create with us that kind of solution, which now, hopefully will propel across the fleet of assets to drive better optimization. And that's just one use case of what is in the 20 to 30 that we see at most of our clients.
Yeah, no, Tracey as well. Just jumping in on that, it's been phenomenal. It's like the ecosystem, right? It's how we all pull together and work together towards that problem, and how each of us contributed on that journey. And so I think that as we move into these big transformations, it is going to take an ecosystem to really move the needle at the scale, at the time frame, and how do we cut all that complexity out of it, and the time to value out of it has been such a big part of it. And seeing big partnerships really start turning and moving a needle, it's such a privilege to be a part of, and it kind of makes you hungry for more, so what more can we do? The glass ceiling's moving away, and we're excited.
Yeah, Andy, I think I'll just pick up on this point. Tracey, sorry for interrupting you. I'm a little too excited here. Look, we have so many customers that value proposition, it is working, right? I mean, we have so many customers kind of lined up like, I want the same. Secondly, we want our first deal to actually go from one plant to scale. On top of what you've all been driving at Unilever, and you almost giving them kudos to Unilever in terms of starting this journey way before the pandemic, and never hesitating, never kind of slowing down through the pandemic, and having this almost like lights out manufacturing. So there's so much momentum, and everything that we've been talking about for years is real. It's happening right now. So maybe we could provide a few more examples, Andy, Tracey, and maybe also share some of the insights and learnings.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracey, me or you? Who's going first?
You take it.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I think you're spot on. And there's been, what's amazing is, although we've all got similar problems, you find that different partners have to attack them in slightly different ways. So it's important we have a solution that knows how to deal with those individual complexities. But I think one of the big transformations we've seen is like being able to reuse assets that exist, whether that's current machines, we don't need to replace the entire lines to start moving forward and driving value with lots of CapEx. And the hidden asset of the talent on the ground, the talent in the factories and in the sites, and now more so working remotely, how do we empower them? How do we democratize their capabilities so that they are, not restricted by the technical barriers and can solve some of their own problems? And we've seen some, although we've got amazing traction in these very advanced use cases where we're, looking to reduce how much, gas is required in a large drying process, and seeing that in a closed loop AI fashion at the kind of very cutting edge of that. There's been incredible unlocks of just giving people tools and the freedom to explore and react to the problems they're facing in the factory that day, and not be constrained by larger, more complex programs. So from my side, I see the advantages of going deep into certain key processes and really having that closed loop AI view, but also the empowerment of the people. And Tracey, I know that you've, you guys and the way you're able to articulate the value and move at such a pace with such volume and scale has been key as well.
Yeah, and I think the other learning is, there is an early part of the discussion around architecture, right? So we just finished a race for digital operations piece of work around 10 industries, over 600 companies, and they're sitting at 39% of maturity around digital, which means no industry between oil and gas, industrial, consumer, auto, whatever, has really gone to full scale. But there's some that are, 10 points ahead of other ones. And there's things to be learned from those industries, which you guys came out of Marsden Oil and Gas. Right now, you've done consumer goods. We're now working on industrials. So there are repeatable cases, right, and examples. But the key around scale is also what is the architecture decisions with things like a Microsoft? How are you going to think about your data models and housing them? What's your taxonomy going to be for being able to scale across multiple facilities that have really different equipment? And so really thinking that piece, as well as the value piece, like what's in it for the business, is I think the two most critical components beyond the kind of use case and demonstrating innovation at speed to get some quick wins to the table.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the other thing as well is I think we've realized is that there are so many challenges and so many facets to this. And you start with one line, one process, and that exposed to all the lines. Now you're looking at material coming in and how you handle that. Then you're seeing the factory turn back as a intelligent node in an entire network. And I think that's where we really see the kind of the ecosystem coming together and some of these other great partners that can kind of bring incredible value propositions. And so, we've got some of them on the call here as well, so it's kind of like how we pull together and take a wider view and zoom out and compound the value proposition is really exciting. So it's a thrill. We've all got to kind of roll in together to see this thing happen all the way.
I think you are, Andy. Yeah, I fully agree with Tracey in terms of, and Tracey, I'll go back to your, this partnership, all of us together are so comprehensive in our thinking from all of the kind of platform and all the basic and elements all the way at that level, starting obviously from security and then coming to the data platform, coming to the insights and the intelligence that is driven, and then bringing it all to a systems level, operational, and then giving essentially a virtual environment of that entire end-to-end operation. This is I think one of the reasons that makes it unique. In addition to our ability to execute and show value in a very, very short periods of time. You alluded to 10, 12 weeks. Andy alluded to 10, 12 weeks. It's just real. It is happening. And then the other aspect is, of course, between all of us, we are able to look at the technology and IT components of the equation, as well as the operational technology and OT components of the equation, bringing it all together and serve it up to the executives for decision making and value extraction, as well as actually ability to disrupt at any which way they'd like to take it. And on that note, perhaps Sight Machine would be a wonderful next conversation, John Sobel, wouldn't it? Because your ability to take what Tracey and Andy have been kind of bringing to life, and then bringing all of the other data sources to it, and then unlocking even more value, providing even more visibility and intelligence at enterprise level. So can you talk to us a bit about Sight Machine's value proposition, the scenarios and use cases that you're working on, share a few examples?
Absolutely, Charlie. And as you said, Sight Machine joins in the great work of Microsoft, the Marsden Group, Accenture, and your many other partners by bringing together process data, quality data from ERP, MES, historians, and then standardizing all of that data into an enterprise level of digital twins and data foundation. And in this way, manufacturers have now got all of this very valuable, difficult data about their production into a single useful layer of data foundation where the promise of Industry 4.0 can be efficiently realized. With this approach, data is constantly updating to give visibility and guidance about production decisions across the enterprise. And as you said, it goes from understanding each asset to managing the system as a whole. With strong tools for visualization, analytics, and AI, manufacturers are now continuously improving productivity and sustainability with the benefit of this kind of insight. They have great traditions for continuous improvement. Now they can see more, they can do more. One example is our friends at WestRock, one of the largest pulp, paper, and packaging companies in the world. They use these tools together to analyze thousands of parameters at once, set recipes for each type of run, reduce sheet breaks in their paper manufacturing, and improve energy use in mills across the Americas. Data Foundation helps other companies with quality, as you mentioned. One that we work with is a company called Essex Furukawa, a leading tier 1 supplier for electric vehicles. They're using machine learning to attack difficult quality problems by revealing multivariate causes of longstanding problems and helping them run experiments and change their processes to get rid of those problems. They're reducing scrap and working with us in plants across Europe, Asia, and North America, using the same data to inform how they work in all of these places at once. Because this approach that everyone is laying out today standardizes data into a single trusted foundation, it scales not just within firms, but across industries. And here's an example of how that plays out. I mentioned our friends at WestRock. They have paper mills and box plants. They make paper at some plants. They turn that paper into cardboard at other plants. And then they send the cardboard to their customers, manufacturers who use it in packaging. WestRock also provides automation to its customers. And they're working towards a scale. We're using the same data foundation, the same digital twins. Everyone can see and understand how paper is made, how the paper becomes cardboard, and how that cardboard is used at customer sites. This enables coordination around materials usage, preventing downtime, maintaining high levels of quality, and making the system better and better for everyone. It all runs on standardized digital twins and data foundation. This kind of insight is what every industry is seeking, from helping auto manufacturers and their supply chains work together to helping us make and distribute pharmaceutical treatments around the world. The vision that you and Andy, Tracey, and Hung Mo are laying out today for manufacturing is bold and is open. And one of the great strengths of building data foundation is that depending on whatever rules and governance a firm might want to apply, everybody in a value chain can contribute and everybody can use it. Real-time understanding of production can now be shared at the industry level and across supply chains. That's where this gets even more exciting.
So, John, interesting point that you're making. I just want to kind of double click on it a little bit. We talked about data, with Tracey and Andy, and everyone understands. I mean, the cliche way of saying it is data is the new gold, right? Or the new oil. Yet the point that you're making is actually your data, no matter how capable you are in terms of, like leveraging it, utilizing it, etc. The point and the example that you're laying out here, it's actually data at value chain level. So to the extent that you can actually share data, the transparency and trust there is in the system, right? So that actually your machines operating in your customer's environment and your customer's ability to data from your machines and your ability to see other data from your customer's operations and actually enhance that, across the other players in terms of the value chain, then there's a complete new value extraction opportunity there for the system, right? For the value chain. And actually, that is one cultural, perhaps more of a psychological hurdle here that we're all seeing in terms of, is it my data, your data, do I trust you, etc. I like to say, let's lead with the opportunity, not with the risk. As long as we, as your set of technology partners, can give you enough kind of confidence in terms of, look, you will be able to manage this, you'll be able to see what others see from your data, etc., and then you'll be able to transparently share the return on that risk that you're taking from sharing your data. But let's discuss the value chain level value extraction, new value extraction, I would say. I think that there's a next set of gold mine there. Any contribution from Andy and Tracey from that point, or John? Other thoughts from your other examples? I know you're so busy in terms of extracting value for customers.
It's exciting. If you think about it for a minute, manufacturing at its essence is about connections between firms. Everybody in the system is related to many other firms. And so it's inevitable that data is going to be a link between all of these activities. And as Charlian said, we've got to make it safe and secure for people to share data. All the survey research shows that a majority of companies are very interested in sharing data in supply chain and value chain use cases if they know it's safe and secure. And there's a couple of tough problems that this group is well on its way to solving. We got to make the data accessible and useful for everybody. Charlian talked about oil, data being the new oil. It's much like oil shale. There's a lot of value. If we can standardize and extract it and everybody can use it the same way, we're on our way. And so this vision, Charlian, that you're laying out is compelling, and it's really exciting to bring it to life with everybody.
Yeah, the things that we talk, Tracy, from factory as a service, or machining as a service, or packaging as a service. This notion of an architecture and new ontology of digital twins really kind of is opening up a whole plethora of new opportunities. I mean, there's merit in some. I think one of our other partners saying, like, I think the opportunity in manufacturing is like $50 trillion. Like,
yes.
It is just so huge. Tracy, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's big, Shelly. And I think, the data piece, I think, is often under represented in when we think about digital and sprints and speed to value. And there's kind of two ways we see clients thinking about it. One is, well, I can't really get started on the digital journey because my data is not good enough, right? So we hear that kind of from a handful of segment. And frankly, it's probably really not true because you have a lot of data. Manufacturing is one of the areas, I think, combined with supply chain, that has more data, right, flowing and readily available, housed in hundreds and thousands of data points and systems and machines and equipment that actually can, if we can unlock it and get it into a way that provides visibility, can be leveraged to drive optimization and value, right, and allow our ingenuity and human ingenuity and the plant floor to really iterate. But if you start to actually then expound that across one site and multiple sites in the value chain, which is what John was going after, right? The real value of agility and resiliency and optimization is going to be when we break down the silos and we can actually work that end-to-end channel of having really good data and transparency and sharing between the ecosystem partners that make up what is effectively a really diverse manufacturing and supply chain footprint today.
Tracy, such an amazing segue to actually Hong Mo. I saved you, Hong Mo, because we've been building for you, right? We've been taking a plant, providing connectivity to it, and we brought in other data sources, and now we're at your service with multiple plants. But every large manufacturer will have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Thousands, if not tens, if not hundreds of thousands of suppliers, and then there's the warehouses, and there's the processors, there's the distributors, all the way to retailers, and you provide visibility to it all. And you are actually one of those very, very few companies on the face of the earth at this time to actually create a digital twin of that entire end-to-end view. And so, talk to us about what you do at Blue Yonder, and share some of the examples and bring it to life in terms of the supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give a quick intro, Blue Yonder at its highest level really provides planning capabilities, execution capabilities in terms of warehousing and transportation, and then commerce capabilities as related to things like merchandise planning, assortment planning, as well as planogramming and so on. All of those being supported by our Luminate platform in terms of being able to ingest data once and then serve up the data in the format that the applications require, so that you can actually get planning decisions or execution decisions in the optimal way. What's interesting is that, Andy talked about it, Tracey talked about it, John talked about it. There's an ecosystem here. And if you think about what's going on in the supply chain disruptions and news are making, headlines almost every day. Kind of only a couple of weeks ago, we had this Suez Canal disruption that has really impacted the product supply for all of the manufacturers that are shipping through the vessels and so on. And then, there's also the chip shortage that we experienced. That's caused some of the automakers to stop their manufacturing plants. What you got to be able to do is, when you actually experience these disruptions, you want to be able to take a look at, okay, what is the impact of these disruptions in terms of downstream, supply, and get that visibility and understand what are the optimal decisions that I need to make in order to best recover, so that you're able to meet your goals of revenue growth, cost to serve, cash to serve, and customer service. And being able to do that requires scenario planning, requires, thinking about what are the alternate sources, or you may have to, live with the decision that you have to kind of think about what are the prioritization and how you allocate the limited supply that you have to, the tiers of customers that you have. So all of those, in addition to, having the visibility at, for example, a line goes down and you're expecting that that's going to cause a disruption in terms of supply for the next 2 days. You need to think about what's the alternate, and that's where the visibility and being able to have the digital twin of your supply chain, and then being able to do scenario planning to understand, okay, how do I make sure that I'm able to recover from that through alternate sources, alternate routes, product substitutions, and being able to make the decisions in a intelligent way. And a lot of our customers are able to, for example, with our tool that is based on Microsoft Azure, are able to plan and depict a network, and then be able to, for example, show, okay, this plant is going down, or Suez Canal is blocked, and understand, okay, based on what's happening and outlook of when things are going to look to recover, what's the impact in terms of predicted time of arrival, date of arrival, and then make alternate decisions accordingly. So really excited to get further visibility. I think there's a lot of good discussions as related to data visibility, and then what do you do with that data to come up with insights, and then furthermore think about what are the prescriptive options that are available to me, and then taking the optimal decision as a result of that.
Yeah, brilliant, Hang Mo. So the pandemic starts, and I'm calling down all my customers, like, are you doing okay? Can we help? What are you dealing with? And almost every single one of those conversations, Hang Mo, I hear, I'm blind. I can't see anything. I can't see my inventory. I don't even know if my suppliers are healthy or they keep functioning. It was a complete, I will call it a slap on the face for manufacturers. But some of your kind of brilliant examples with some of your early customers, they had the visibility, they had this control tower, they were able to deal with some of the kind of resiliency and business continuity issues because they had the tools. And then obviously, I had conversations like, I have like $2 billion tied in inventory. I have no idea whether or not I will need it, or I will have it where I need it. These are, if you do not have visibility, you are just manufacturing more. You are stocking up more. You're tying up cash more, and it's either like a vicious circle or a virtuous circle. I'm so excited that we're able to put everyone on the virtuous circle side with all the connectivity, with all the simulations and scenario planning, all the capabilities of being able to manage things. So you are able to today, with all the kind of ecosystem at play, help manufacturers really match demand and supply, right?
Absolutely.
This has
Absolutely.
never happened before. Can you say a few things about that?
Sure, absolutely. So, I think people are a little bit tired of talking about COVID and the impact, but what it really did was accelerate a lot of the shift to digital and a lot of the shift to e-commerce, for example, and then also cause the manufacturers to think about, how do I make sure that I understand where are my critical components? And that may not be a tier 1 supplier, maybe a tier 2 or tier 3 supplier, but you need to be able to understand what is the constraint at the critical supplier, and then understand how that impacts downstream operations and so on. So there are a couple of things that we see. One is with the movement and acceleration toward e-commerce, being able to understand, okay, where do I need to position micro fulfillment centers, dark DCs, and to be able to allow for, how do I make sure that if a customer wants a same-day delivery, we're able to position the fulfillment centers and the inventory such that we're able to meet that service level and the expectations that people might have. The other is a lot of the manufacturers now start thinking about de-globalizing. They with all the geopolitical tensions and tariffs and Brexit and so on, people are trying to make sure that, how do I make sure whenever there's a disruption, I don't get disrupted in terms of my supply chain. So thinking about building more of the manufacturing onshore, nearshore, and having multiple options. And that does require, kind of thinking through what are the different scenarios and running simulations and understanding what the cost to serve, cash to serve that's required, and then the service level and responsiveness. And that also requires, the good visibility into what's happening in the manufacturing lines to specific, orders and production targets, and requiring unprecedented, access to the data that, Andy, Tracey, and John have kind of talked about at the manufacturing levels.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, you're making an ecosystem point where to be able to see your entire supply chain, you got to see your lines and your plant and geography, even people and all the movement around it. It's an end-to-end ecosystem. I'm so excited that we're in this together. It is going to be a journey, but at the end of the day, we're all dreaming the same dream, right? It's about business continuity and resiliency. It is about all of us moving towards sustainable and autonomous supply chains and giving the entire set of digital capabilities to all of our customers through actually those digital twins of their entire operations as a value chain. And with Marston kind of bringing this digital twin IP seamlessly into the factory environment, connecting all these assets into a digital layer and enabling new levels of intelligence. Sight Machine coming on top of that, bringing other information and data estate onto this end-to-end value chain data platform, creating an enterprise-wide digital twin, bringing that to life. Blue Yonder taking that, going from plants to the entire kind of suppliers and the other aspects of the supply chain, providing real-time visibility across the entire supply chain. On top of which, then Microsoft's kind of deep reinforcement learning, artificial intelligence, Bonsai, all of the autonomous and AI-related capabilities. We haven't even scratched the surface in terms of design and engineering, how we build the asset twins and run engineering simulations and enable product innovation with the AI-led generative design and additive manufacturing. Ansys comes to mind as another important partner to this equation. And Accenture, common denominator across this whole work from asset all the way to supply chain, from strategy to consultancy to system integration, and to actually making value realization happen. It just doesn't get any more exciting. This is us collectively as a partnership making this what I call the art of possible possible, right? And bringing everyone along in terms of this $1 trillion opportunity ahead of us. It's been a huge pleasure partnering with you all. It's been a huge pleasure having this conversation today. And so what I'd like to ask all of you with the same, perhaps same order, just to have a final kind of wrap up, a conclusion statement. Andy, let's start with you.
Yeah, well, let's get back to work, huh? We can talk about it all day, but I'd like to roll up our sleeves and get to it. And I think the big thing for me is like the data is so foundational, but we got to remember as well that we're moving into a realm where we're not just standardizing and moving data around, we're needing to start moving insights around back and forward, up and down. And then that adds a new dimension to it. So to really make this kind of, it's like twin of twins concept, we want to be able to have these intelligent nodes interacting intelligently as we make, and to empower that whole end-to-end journey. So it's kind of like data's foundational. Let's get it going, but also let's start thinking about how we actually trade intelligent insights back and forward and between these systems in new ways of computing. And but I think my thing is like, man, there is so much to do. There is so much opportunity out there. And I think we all feel a sense of if we can do some of these right, we can start looking at much more advanced lenses on these supply chains, on these factories. Let's look at what is our environmental impact? Can we make joint, carbon-based decisions on how we optimize, where we're not just optimizing for the bottom line, which is critical, but also optimizing for the environment as a whole. And then these are the kind of things that if we continue to collaborate, break down traditional silos of organizations, we can move as one, group towards much bigger, much loftier, much more exciting goals. I know for me, that's why I joined onto the Microsoft team, because we want to be able to move big needles. And I think we have if the spirit is right, if we really work as teams, we all bring our unique value propositions. There's a brave new world out there, and I just can't wait to get after it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andy. Tracey.
Yeah, well, you stole my thunder on the sustainability. I was going to say one thing I think we probably haven't hit home enough is this data fabric and twin capability that can enable us to actually drive the sustainable planet that we're all looking to achieve, both as corporations but as individuals. And I think we have to start with actually getting the supply chain visibility to know how we're going to affect that carbon footprint and contribute, and then also have more sustainable and faster new product introduction to have a better customer experience on the back end. So I think there's lots of different ways that the digital twin and fabric can support that. And probably my last point is, people are still at the heart of all this. So when we talk about responsible supply chain, responsible AI, we're also talking about responsible upskilling and taking care of our workforce, and particularly the manufacturing environments that we service that make up entire communities. So I think we have a real obligation to make sure that we do this in the right way, at the right pace, and that we provide the right reskilling and make it a place in the future that's tech savvy, and a place that, frankly, really good engineers want to still come work in 10 and 20 years' time.
Well said, Tracey. We all feel that responsibility, don't we? John.
I'm thinking about Hannover Messe and how the idea of Industry 4.0 was first framed in Germany almost a decade ago, and how many of the people at the conference have been working on these challenges for more than a few years. And one of the things, Charlie, that I think you and this group and so many of your partners have thought about so well is speed and risk and outcomes. There are now ways to very quickly work with the Marsden Group and Accenture, get data flowing, get sensors on your assets. I encourage anyone who's interested in talking about some of the ideas that we've shared today to share some of your data with one or several of us in this group. We'll show you what you can do with that in a couple of weeks. And as Charlie alluded to at the very beginning, there are now methods and ways to scale this and to get results. It's hard. People have been working on this for a while. I think we're at an inflection point where we can really start to generate scale and outcomes that are going to make a difference for manufacturers.
Words of wisdom. Brilliant, John. Thank you. Hang Mo.
But what I take away from the conversation is, there's a data layer that needs to get kind of cleaned up, and really getting the relevant data that's usable. Layer on top of that, intelligent automation, and then on top of that, the actionable analytics. And all of this is really meant to drive business outcome. And really, Andy talked about it, John talked about it. You can actually get to a point where you can deliver, business outcomes within a matter of 12 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks. And I think if you can kind of think about data, intelligent automation, actionable analytics applied to specific business pain points that you want to be able to drive the business outcome, I think the combination of the ecosystem of players that are here, plus Microsoft with all the capabilities that Azure brings to the table, the computing capabilities are there for you to be able to drive that significant improvement for your business. I'd love to be a partner in your journey toward digital transformations.
You brought it home. Thank you, Hang Mo. So we are capable of in a matter of weeks, we are capable of value extraction, bring the art of possible to life, do it in a transparent way, almost create that flywheel of innovation and ability to invest in it because the value realization is there. No more years of implementation, no more prohibitively expensive projects, and this partnership is just here for you. To really become digital. We're just scratching the surface, as we discussed, in terms of both manufacturing and the supply chain aspects. But those digital twins are there. They're functioning. They're giving you unprecedented capabilities. And so with that, I'll thank all my friends who joined us in today's discussion. And again, as John said, it's an open welcome to everyone who wants to further the discussion. Touch base with us and discuss and see for yourself. And thank you all for joining us today. Do not miss Amol's session on unlocking innovation in terms of high-performance computing, enabling speed and innovation together with ANSYS. As I said, it's a very, very important discussion from a design and engineering and asset digital twin standpoint, together with Johnson Matthey and PTC. Sight Machine and Blue Yonder demos as part of Hannover Messe. Enjoy Hannover Messe. Thanks, everyone.